Well, welcome. Thank you for everyone for coming tonight. I call to order the City of Travelers Rest Council meeting for Thursday, December the 21st. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.
Not be done.
Yeah, there we go. I love it. All right, if you will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if Councilmember Vest, if you could please pray for council.
Yes, let's pray. Lord, we thank you for a beautiful day in Travelers Rest today. We pray that you guide our decisions and conversation made here this evening. In your name I pray. Amen.
First, we have approval from our council meeting for November the 16th, and I believe we had an edit from Lisa. So do I have a motion to approve minutes with the edit from Lisa per email? It was just she wasn't here last time, and I think she was included as a second. Is that correct, Lisa?
That's correct.
Okay, great. All right, do I hear a motion?
I motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
Any further edits or questions?
They added my name too.
Oh, great. Okay, great.
Y'all should have the corrected minutes up there. I think Carson corrected them
Oh,
and
thank
passed
you.
out the updated version for you. Yep.
Great. All right, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you for that. For citizen participation, we have Mr. William Paget. If you'd like to come forward, we appreciate it. And I'm going to set a timer, so when it goes off, your 5 minutes will be up. And you don't have to state your address, but if you'll tell us if you're a city resident.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
My name's William Paget. I go by Bill. I live at 327 Kelby Street in Travelers Rest. It's Glenview Park subdivision, so you probably know why I'm here. Before I retired here, I spent about 40 years in industry, and safety was always a big factor. We had safety first, all accidents are preventable. Everyone is responsible for safety, and I think probably the same rules apply for safety in Travelers Rest. The reason I'm here is I think everyone knows on November 25th we had a fatality in our neighborhood. The lady, Jennifer Berry, was 42 years old, died about 50 yards from her home. She was trying to cross the street. Apparently her mother-in-law fell, and she tried to pick her up and was hit by a car and carried 20 feet and was immediately killed. So what that gets into is why in the world would somebody at 10 o'clock at night be on the Swamp Rabbit Trail trying to cross into our neighborhood? The issue is we do not have safe passage. I'm going to talk about that. I know that the SCDOT and the mayor recommend we walk on that sidewalk, and I want to show you a few things, and hopefully you guys can make it so we can walk on that sidewalk. We know long term is that we will get a sidewalk that's not sitting right on the road. It'll be wider, etc. But that's not going to help us today. Next month, maybe next year, we don't know what the time frame is. So I've spent some time. I've walked that sidewalk about every day since Jennifer died, just to get a feel for it and understand why nobody wants to walk on it. And what I've got here is I'm asking for some action items, and these are things I feel like we can do almost immediately. One of the big problems is besides the sidewalk is right on the road, and you've literally got cars not that far from you going 55 miles an hour sometimes, because I have that new sign up there, and I've stood out and watched just to see what people go, and it's real common to see 45 to 50, and I've seen 52 and 55. I don't stand out there all day. This is like in 2 or 3 minutes. I've got cars going that fast. And there are people that obey the speed limit too. I'm not saying that's everybody, but when you're walking that sidewalk, it is really, really scary to have somebody going 55 that close to your body. So, we know they put in the speed light there that warns drivers they're going too fast. And we're asking that you move that back to before our development. And that speed sign, I put a picture here, it sits crooked and it's blocked by a lot of electrical poles and it goes around a sweeping curve, so I don't even know if a lot of people can even see that sign. If you look on the back here, there's a bigger picture, but this is this sign right here in this corner, that's the one, that's the first 35-mile-an-hour sign. There is a warning before that, and this sign is 1/10 of a mile before Glenview Park. This one in this corner that's got somebody going 42 I took a picture of. That's where it's at. Now, originally, at one time, the city did have, or what I understand the city, whoever put that there, we had it on this sign. And what I'm asking is move it back before our neighborhood. This would give people more time to slow down before the high school, because we're only 1/10 of a mile, and it's about another 1/10 that you have that flashing sign. So that would give people more time to get slowed down before they got into the school zone and got in front of our neighborhood. That's one thing I'm asking for. The other thing I'm asking for is if you are going north out of Travelers Rest High School, there's 2 stoplights. I call it the south and the north. The one that they want us to cross on is at the north light. The issue is there, after the first light, there's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. After the second light, there's nothing. And what people do, as soon as they get after that second light, they hit the accelerator. And there's not the next sign that's there is 4/10 of a mile away. It says 45. It's after Deco Metals, and there's no sign in between. I'm asking that we get a sign in between so people are aware that the speed limit is still 35 miles an hour at that point, because I think a lot of people just don't realize that the speed limit is still 35 in that area.
Mr. Pageant, your time's up. You maybe want to, one more sentence to wrap your,
Okay. The other thing we're asking for, and you see these pictures, is to edge sidewalks and give us about 10 to 20% of our sidewalk is unusable. And I've got listed here the properties that's overgrown. We're just asking that somebody make them, because we're losing a lot of our area we can walk on because of overgrowth, grass and stuff. So even an extra foot or two means a lot.
well, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming and speaking with us. And I know this is a very personal matter
is.
to you, so we appreciate, and thank you for this research. If you wouldn't mind giving Eric, our city administrator, a copy of that as well, and then we can go back and talk with our public safety team. Yeah, Captain would probably appreciate one too, and we'll take a look at these suggestions. And I've got your email address too, so I'll follow up, Mr. Pageant. Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for doing all the legwork to make good suggestions. We appreciate it.
Mayor, can I ask a question, one question?
Sure.
Real quick? Well, thank you, Mr. Paget, again, for coming in. Captain Coburn, don't run off, a question for you. Is it not up there, and guys, you feel free to jump in here too, up there at, where the old folks' home is right there? When we
Spring Park
come into
Assisted
the
Living,
city?
yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Spring Park, yeah, assisted living, thank you. I was looking for the right verbiage. Don't hold me, I'm getting closer to that myself up there. But is it not 45 right there?
Yes, sir.
And then where Mr. Page is talking about, it drops down to 35?
35, yes, sir.
Is there a possibility that we could, and Eric, help us out on this, is there a possibility we could ask to have that speed limit lowered from the entrance to the city to 35?
Yes, sir, we could ask. It would be definitely up to, South Carolina DOT on that.
Right. I mean, is that something, guys, what do you think? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable ask, for sure.
Yeah, but what I'm asking,
asking
is it
DOT.
possible to have it, as soon as you enter the city, have it coming over that hill? I know it's a little bit hard, but as soon as you enter the city to 35.
Yes, sir.
Can we make a formal request?
I can put
Yeah.
in a request
Okay.
tomorrow to the district administrator.
I mean,
think
that would help some.
Yeah. And maybe there's something that think about too of, I know we have our old, Stone, Welcome to Travelers Rest, and Philip and the team have done a great job, but maybe there's something else to signal, like, you're coming into the city. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but, I get it. We've all driven through there forever, and you just kind of go fast, and you're like, oh, here's a city, and
You know,
slow down, yeah.
there used to be, I know there still is on State Park Road, where you enter the city limits.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking, to have like a city limit sign there?
Yeah, something,
And then
yeah.
drop it down to
Could be,
35 immediately instead of going quarter mile, dropping it down?
And we can at least
We'll-
ask,
We'll find out and put a
yeah.
request in.
Okay.
It took, 8 years for us to get it 25 on Main Street, so maybe,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can see what can be done. Great, well, thank you, appreciate
Any other
it.
And just to
questions?
let Mr. Paget know that so much of this is out of our control. We can actually make the requests, as our city administrator is saying he can do. We can go to the DOT with some of these suggestions, but it's so much that's out of our hands because the DOT is going to tell us what we can and can't do.
It's ours.
That's ours.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
ours. And I think that is going to be a discussion, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's something we'll talk about with our police department and see what their reasoning is. Great, great. Yeah. I do.
Oh, absolutely, and I just want to let you know that these 9 people here, and I'll speak for them, that we take that personally as well, and, because a couple of us live in that neighborhood, and, you have our sympathy and all the folks over there, nothing we can do now, but maybe we can do something going ahead.
That's all.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
All I was trying to do, I talked to Eric about all this. I said, something that could be done immediately. If we could see something done.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Y'all have any
We're
other,
sorry for your loss, sir.
y'all have any other questions on the,
All right, okay. And then Sharon's going to actually speak to us in January, so she'll come back for that. Ordinances and resolutions for second reading, we have none. And now we'll move into our committee reports. We have our Public Works Committee Chair, Chris.
Thank you. The Public Works Committee met on December 11th, 2023, and approved the November 6 minutes. The committee discussed the November Public Works Report. Director Tate noted the following items. Hope to hear about the grant through the Palmetto Pride by Friday. Working with Duke to put up more lighting on Main Street, both north and south. Trash collection going back to rear loading truck, so trash can be placed next to the carts. Trees trimmed on 25 from Rowe and Little Texas to Tigerville. The sign machine is in and still waiting to be installed. The sidewalk along TNS Brass was repaired to even it out. And Director Tate has talked to DOT about the signage on Tubbs Mountain Road and State Park Road, and that's the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have our Public Safety Committee Chair Byers.
The Public Safety Committee met on December 11th and approved the November 6th minutes. The committee reviewed the November public safety reports for police. The police department is at full staff. 2 officers are not certified. Opinion survey results between 100 and 150 participants. We will discuss results at the next committee meeting in January. For fire, the Assistant Chief McMakin gave an update on the fire report. The report was forwarded to council the next day. Call volume is normal for this time of year and a lot more EMS calls. For building, a little bit of a slowdown in permitting this month and working on letter to distribute to tax-exempt organizations, and also have discussed with Furman and the Woodlands to a fee agreement in lieu of the ordinance.
Chair Byers. Now we have our Planning and Development Committee Chair Vest.
Planning and Development Committee met on December 11th and approved the minutes from November 6th. We discussed the November Planning and Development Report, and Director Foreman noted several items. The first of which is the Athens Street duplexes will come before Planning Commission during the January meeting. Also, Director Foreman discussed the Comprehensive Plan 5-year update, gave us an update of that. We'll be voting on that for first reading here tonight. Director Foreman also discussed the zoning ordinance text amendment for Article 5 and 6. Also will be heard tonight for first reading.
Thank you. Now we have our Ways and Means, Chair Baumgartner.
The committee approved the November 6th meeting minutes. We discussed the business license NAICS code class schedule update, And the November 2023 financial report was a part of our packet. Does anyone have any questions about the report that they would like to ask at this time? All right, hearing no questions, that ends my report.
Thank you. Now we are moving to ordinances and resolutions for first reading. We have our comprehensive plan 5-year update. Brantley, is that on you?
Yep, that's me.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to accept our 2023 comprehensive plan update. So need a second and we can discuss.
You've heard that motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, second by Shanice. All right, further discussion, or you want to have any comments, Brantley?
Yeah, Mike, do you want to give us a rundown here quickly, or do you think we're good to go? Anything you want to highlight? Yeah.
Changes and updates as per the review, and it's before you all for first reading tonight.
Yeah, this is a requirement to review it at the halfway point, and that's where we are.
Yes, sir.
Any questions from anyone, or open it up for council to discuss if needed?
I do. So that means in 5 years will be a totally different plan?
Yes, ma'am.
When does that start, that process start for that plan?
That
A year or
process
2 years?
would be, if it's a 2028 plan, it would typically start at the beginning of 28, if
Oh.
not sooner.
Okay,
It's
thank
about a
you.
year-long process.
Or if no other questions, we're ready to make a vote.
All in favor? Okay. Carries. Thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate it. Next, we have our zoning ordinance text amendment for Article 5 and 6. Chair
Yep.
Brantley.
Make a motion again to accept the zoning ordinance text amendment for Articles 5 and 6. There's the motion.
You've heard that
And a
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
By Shanice, any further discussions or?
Any
Kinda a little
questions from
cleaning
anyone?
up.
Council?
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Brantley. Business license code class schedule update from Grant.
I make a motion to accept the business license NAICS code class schedule update that was in our packet.
You have the motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Shanice. All right, any further discussions? or-
I'll give you all, this is actually, I thought about this. Remember, wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago, I think, when we had to accept when the state changed all the business license classifications.
To regulate it, correct?
Yeah, this is actually this is accepting their changes. There's nothing that we can do about this. It's going to come before us every 2 years, and this is how it is.
It's more of a standardization,
It
simplification.
is.
Yeah.
And it's right in line with what the state, it's all, every municipality is going to have to do it.
All right. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Old business, we have none. New business, we have our audit presentation tonight by Todd Highsmith. Thanks for coming out. We appreciate it. Way to bring the Christmas joy with an audit.
Ouch. That's all I can say is ouch.
You know, I love it. Bring it on.
I know,
Yeah. Thank
I
you so much. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks to everyone here for allowing me to come in for just a few minutes. I'll keep my comments brief. We will not be going through this entire report, as always. So we'll start with the thick report. This is the audit report, and the first page, page 1, is kind of where everybody flips to see what kind of opinion the city received on their financial statements for the year. And we're happy to say, after we conducted all of our test work, our audit procedures, and signed off on all the checklists, these numbers are fairly presented. It's a clean audit report for the city of Travelers Rest. On page 13, we're going to skip over the MD&A. There's some good comparisons in there, so if you find yourself bored at night, you can't go to sleep, read that and you'll go right to sleep. We're just going to look at the totals column. The total assets for the city at June 30th was $28,172,753. Approximately 21% of that is in cash, unrestricted cash, and you have about 25% in restricted cash, and that's like hospitality, accommodations, and those type of things. The total liabilities of the city were $15,498,509. If you look at the total liabilities without that net pension liability, they were $11 million. So hopefully that pension liability will never come due. The total net position of the city was $13,584,130, or $584,131. So it's, you see an unrestricted, it is a deficit. We're still trying to work off that pension entry from a few years ago that we had. It was a pretty large change to the financial report for the city. And each year, we're slowly, working our way out of it.
You mind giving, we have a new council member. Would you
Oh.
mind giving her like the 30-second summary?
Yeah,
It was very
several-
dramatic at the time.
Yeah, several years ago, the Government Accounting Standards Boards realized that the cities and the local municipalities were not really realizing their portion of the net pension at the state level. The state was bearing all the responsibility, and it needed to be pushed down to where the liability actually was. So each year, PEBA in South Carolina, the SCRS and PORS system, have their annual valuation and audit, and they determine what municipalities' amount should be assigned to that municipality based on projections and forecasts and actuarial assumptions and all that stuff. And there's a long footnote in the footnotes that describes it a little better. So we had to make a prior period adjustment several years ago to, I can't remember how many millions of dollars it was, that put us in a deficit in our unrestricted. But like I said, we're each year we get out of it more and more. So hopefully here next year or the year after, we'll be back in a positive and go from there. Until they issue a new pronouncement, and we have to change something else.
Thank you.
On page 14, we're just going to look at one number on this page. It's on the right-hand side. It's the third number up from the bottom. And we had an increase in our net position of $2,170,964 for the year. And these financial statements, I should have clarified this first. These first two pages are as if it was a corporate environment. It shows all the liabilities, all the fixed assets. What we're getting ready to look at is just the general fund. And that controls all the operations of the city. On page 15 is the governmental funds balance sheet. And I usually just look at the general fund with our municipalities. The total assets of the general fund were $6,283,698, of which most of that is in cash and restricted cash. Total liabilities were $1,070,822. Total fund balance was $5,212,876, of which $3,473,954 is unrestricted, unassigned, meaning that council can spend it at their discretion. And that is approximately 49% or so of our general fund expenditures for the year. So we're covering about half of the year in our fund balance. On page 17, our total general fund revenues in the first column was $7,946,911. Our total expenditures were $7,027,484. And we had a decrease in our fund balance, general fund this year, of $267,695. And that is really due to the capital outlay that we made during the year for various equipment that the city needed. And that was, the capital outlay is about $705,000 for the year, just in the general fund. The last schedule I want to look at is just briefly touch on the budget versus actual, and that is on page 52. We had budgeted $8,185,525 in general fund revenues. We brought in $7,946,911. So we're a couple $100,000 short on our budget. And then on budget revenues, then on page 55, our total expenditures, we had budgeted $7,005,752, and we spent $7,027,484. So we were $21,000 over budget as our total expenditures, which isn't too bad at all.
Sorry, what page are you on?
That was on page 55, I believe it was.
Okay.
Mayor. Yes, page 55. That just shows all the expenses. I don't go through all the detailed expenses. The other reports you have there, the thinner one, it's just our report to council to let you know how the audit went, interactions with management and the staff of the city. And we're pleased to say we didn't have any issues at all. Everything was good. They provided us all the information we needed, very timely. There were no unusual circumstances that came to that we needed to notify you for, as far as any accounting or anything like that. So, it was a very good audit, very clean.
I'm lost. Will you
Yes.
help me for a second?
Yes.
On this page 54, where's my summary for 55?
55 is about the middle of the page. It's called total expenditures, maybe
Okay. Oh,
two-thirds of the way
okay,
down.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. I'm with you. Okay.
I'd say
I
that's
cheated, I highlighted
pretty
my
good
my
this
rows.
year.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. So
No,
20, okay.
yeah,
got it.
just 21,000 over
Yeah.
budget and expenditures.
This year.
Yeah, this year,
pretty
for
good.
23.
Yeah.
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 Or 22, 23.
Yeah.
22,
got it.
23, fiscal year ended June
Just
30th.
an ugly year, like, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, there was a lot of, we see that across the board in a lot of our municipalities. It was kind of an interesting year to go out and audit this past year.
Were there any themes for other municipalities or just?
No, it was just, the ARPA money coming in, people
Sure.
spent a lot more money, they overspent in some areas. And some of the smaller towns we do really needed to. So, no knocks on them. But it was just all the money coming in from the federal government, the ARPA and everything else. People were just a little bit spend happy this year, it seemed like. And upgraded equipment, which needed to be done.
So essentially, what we actually did is we fell $21,000 short from our budget, of what we.
Or
actually-
expenditures.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Overall.
For,
Still not bad compared to a
Oh,
whole
no.
lot of others.
Correct. Yeah, we see some pretty large variances there.
for the cash, I know we're holding some money for Poinsett too, but it might be good for, because you said we were 49% of our.
Yeah, our general fund expenditures, that includes capital outlay and everything that you have during the year. The unassigned piece was 49% of the 23 general fund expenditures,
Okay,
and that's a pretty good ratio. We've seen a lot lower than that in other places, and we've seen higher than that in some other places. But that seems to be a good
healthy number.
medium number.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. I mean, we don't want to have too much cash because that means
No.
we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, but we want to have
Well,
enough in
then,
case.
Yeah, if you have too
2024
much,
is
you get
wonky.
ridiculed for that,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, great. Well, does council have any additional questions or any comments? Thank you so much.
all right,
We
well, thank you.
appreciate it. You guys
all
always
have
do
a
a
very
great
Merry
job.
Christmas, and we'll see you sometime next year.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. Miscellaneous matters. We have our administrative update. Eric, what you got for us?
Okay, wonderful. Well, I do want to give a quick update on North Poinsett Streetscape Project. It's currently still at DHEC for review. They've had it for 6 weeks now. We anticipate them having their review ongoing till probably late January. So once that completes the DHEC permit, it'll go back to DOT for their final sign-off, which is probably a little quicker review and permit process, since DOT is very familiar with it. In the interim, we're still working on getting some final permissions from about 4 property owners. So the goal is to have those permissions finalized and approved prior to DOT's permit. That way, we're working at the same time to get all those things done. Once we get DOT's permit in place, it'll go out to bid for construction bids. That currently is, we're seeing numbers come in a lot higher on these things. We don't know exactly what the bid's going to be. I got our engineer to give us a revised estimate just so that we could begin to have those discussions. He said probably around 8 million was the latest estimate that he threw out. If you recall, we budgeted 5.6. So with that being understood, we also have been reserving some of our ARPA money. We haven't spent, and we allocated it for some other projects. If you remember, we allocated some of our ARPA funds for some other projects, but that was assuming that we were able to pay for Poinsett. So that's been reserved. I would probably recommend that we hold that in reserve until we find out what our final numbers are. And then we could probably reallocate some of our funding that we had in reserve for ARPA to help cover some of our overage on the Poinsett. It probably will not cover the total overage, so we need to look at some other funding strategies. I've reached out to our C-Fund representatives and had some discussions, and also with our engineer who they staff our CTC committee. CTC committee is not funding streetscape type improvements anymore. Their funding is running low, so they decided as a policy to only fund paving projects moving forward. And so they're not going to be a source for us to go back to the CTC and ask for some additional money. It doesn't look likely that we would get it. And so what I would recommend that we consider is looking at maybe lobbying the state for some additional revenue for maybe an earmark in the state budget. I've reached out to our representative to see if he could support that, and he is in full support of that. But we need to go make a formal request at the State Ways and Means Committee when they get into budget process. So that would be something that I would definitely recommend. This is not unusual or isolated just to us. All costs are going up. There's other cities that are facing shortfalls on projects that they budgeted when they got the ARPA money. Ours predates ARPA, but so there is probably going to be a lot of competition for that money. So I think us getting in front of them and asking for, and I think we would have a great chance of getting the money to complete this project, since we already have commitments from the CTC and we're putting so much cash, city cash towards it, and all the hard work has already been done. So in other words, it's shovel ready. That's the key word. It's a shovel ready project that we just need some additional assistance to push it over the finish line.
We already have CTC money anyway. They already committed to us, and they're not taking that back. We
That's
still get
correct,
that.
yes.
We're just
They
not getting any
committed
more.
$2.6 million to us 2 years ago, roughly, year and a half ago. And so that is the largest that they've committed to any project in Greenville County. So we've got a good portion for our project the CTC had given us to help push this forward. That was prior to them changing their policy about only funding paving projects moving forward. So we're, obviously lucky and grateful to have that contribution, and that contribution is still there. Our match is 2.6 for a total of 5.2. And then if you recall, we were anticipating some cost overages, and so we had talked about the roundabout project and some other projects. Well, we've only spent a very small amount to get some preliminary engineering work done on those. So that money is sitting there still that we could consider dipping into that to help with cost overruns. I just don't think it's going to get us all the way to where we need to be.
And even for the state piece, we don't want that to hold us up, because that's a little outside of our control. So what would we do there? Just
Yeah, if
hit on our end?
I say we lobby the state, we're going to know about that probably if we get that earmark, as they go through their budgeting process. Not sure on the timing. I'll find out more about that as far as when we would know if we were eligible or we were awarded. If we don't get any additional money earmarked through the state budget, we would probably have to go back and looking at revising our bond. If you recall, we did a hospitality bond for a portion of our match. And at that point in time, it was only about $1 million bond. So our bonding capacity on the hospitality tax side, we could look at our bonding capacity on hospitality tax and go back and maybe issue a hospitality revenue bond to cover as another option. But we would also look at and see if there's any other funding strategies out there. What I would recommend is that we steer clear of ARC grants. That brings in a whole different area that would delay the project tremendously. That we would not want to use those funds. Even if we were offered those funds would hand tie us and would not allow us to move forward in a timely fashion if we were using those ARC funds.
I think the overages are not uncommon at this point. I just don't want us to, sit around and wait too long. Been working on this for a long time. So
Yes, exactly.
it's
And they
breaking
don't-
ground this year no matter what. It's
Yeah.
happening, yeah.
And CTC doesn't want these projects to sit around because they've got a lot invested in money tied up. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't go back to the CTC and ask them. I'm just saying the likelihood of us getting some additional money from them is probably not as great as it was, in the past at this point.
You don't foresee any issues with the 4 outstanding property owners?
No, I do. I've had productive conversations with all of them, and we have solutions. It's just a matter of making sure which solution they prefer.
Right.
So we have solutions. It might not be ideal for all parties.
Yeah.
Like curb cuts, and there could be some issues with safety. If we can't eliminate a curb cut in some situation and we end up having a car backing out into the roadway, at some point, we have to be able to resolve that and just say, listen, this is not ideal. We all recognize that maybe, we don't want to create a potential safety hazard, but at some point, property owners have rights unless we want to buy the property.
Right.
And then we're talking about buying a piece of property that we would have, we have appraisals on those, and that would be a decision that we would have to make. Is it worth to go out and just purchase the entire property? Because it would be a taking at that point in time. Or pay damages, which could happen on a couple of these final 4 property owners as it relates to property. There could be a portion that is, that we would need to look at paying some damages.
I assume most of the other businesses understand that it would help create revenue for them.
They should. We've had those conversations, and that's why we've had, 95% of the people sign off
Right.
and everything we need. There's only just, like I said, these 4, and all of them.
Is it split residential and commercial with the 4?
No, they're all, one's undeveloped. That
Okay.
one is across from Chicora. It's they're great. We have a good
Yeah.
relationship. It's just buttoning up the details.
Right,
So
okay.
that one's not going to be a holdout. The others are constrained properties that have parking constraints.
Got it.
And they're concerned about how they're going to park, and we're looking at trying to resolve some of their parking issues and their access issues.
Got it. Okay.
In their existing commercial businesses.
That 8 million, does it have contingency built into the 8 million?
He threw that number out on a phone call,
Oh,
so
okay,
I would
okay.
not put a.
Okay.
I'm like, what's the quickest we can get a construction estimate? I mean, a
Yeah.
true construction bid.
Yeah.
These are just estimates, and,
It used to
that's.
be like 20% was your contingency budget, but now it's like 40 and 50%.
Yeah, we
So I
blew
was
the
just curious,
contingency
yeah.
out of the water on the
Yeah.
original estimate already with the way these prices are coming in. So he's an engineer. He threw that number out at 8 million. That's the closest, I think, that we can estimate
For
where
right
this
now.
thing might land.
And the problem is, we just don't have anything to go with. I mean, that's the only thing that we've got to go with outside of our original estimate, so. And we got to be able to start doing some presentations
Yeah, I was
somewhere.
concerned that, see, the CTC meets in February as a voting meeting, and I was concerned we were not going to have a bid in before their February
yeah.
voting meeting, and so I wouldn't have an ability to ask for additional funding because I wasn't sure what we would be asking for, because we wouldn't have a construction bid. And so at that point in time, they informed me that they were not likely to approve any additional anyway.
Okay.
So that was kind of, I thought we were going to be under a time crunch on making an additional request. So I was trying to get the guy to give me get the construction bids coming in. So, but yeah, so the earliest we're going to be able to get a bid is probably looking at March timeframe for getting true numbers coming in the door.
Any other questions on points?
Yes,
up?
with that, so that kind of is a good summary of where we stand there. I wanted to also recognize Beth and her work on this year's toy drive, and all the staff members who helped make this a huge success. I'm going to let Beth present some of what we accomplished with this year's toy drive.
All right, so we had a record number of families this year, and 69 families. We served 83 local children. Family received a gift card from Food Lion. Depending on the size of the family, it was either $50 or $100 if they had 3 or more children. Received donations, $7,335 from businesses and, in town and just local people. So everybody was very generous. Thankful for that because we had a lot of requests for clothing and things like that. The families, just about every family asked for clothing. So it wasn't just about toys. They really have needs this year. I did the shopping for the families, and I was so surprised at the prices, even over at Walmart. You know, you used to be able to get an outfit for 15. Now it's one piece of an outfit for 15. So I'm happy that we got that money and we were able to help those families. So all the children got that. We had Travelers Rest High School came and helped. We gave them a shopping list, and they got lots of toys and clothing for these families that we selected for them to shop for. And we had some leftover toys. We got a lot of toys in, so we were able to donate 4 boxes of really nice toys to the Children's Hospital. So we did that today, and they're going to give the children there. So it was a rewarding experience for me and for everybody else, the Travelers Rest Fire Department and Public Works, and so many of the people. We all just like came together and did this, and it went well. So
Y'all did the exchange at Gateway Park, is that right?
what's that?
Y'all did the exchange at Gateway with the families, Gateway Park?
No, they came here and
Oh, they
picked them
came
up.
here.
And there's
I thought
maybe
I
a
saw
couple
it.
of families we have to deliver.
I got you,
Yep.
okay. Oh, okay, got you, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Whatever day it was, I came out and saw a bunch of police cars.
Leo,
Oh, that's cool, yeah. Yeah. Cool, yeah.
Well, we appreciate,
Yeah, thank you,
everybody
Beth.
was working so hard on that, and, I mean, you know, it's like a full-time job managing and police and fire. I know we had our firefighters sorting a lot of things, and the
Yes.
police driving around the neighborhoods, making
Wow.
sure, you know,
They were
kids
out
were
there,
dressed, yeah.
the firefighters, December, I can't remember the date, but they set up a table outside of Walmart. They collected $1,000 in donations
yeah.
and a boatload of toys. When I got in here on Monday, I was like, oh, Lord. So we had to sort through all the toys, but it was great. You know, it went well, and I think our families are all happy. The kids got really high-quality clothing and, well, you know, Walmart, but nice clothing and nice toys. So we did little wish lists for each of the children. So we weren't just random about it. We were intentional about it so that the kids got what they wanted as to the best of our ability. So
always
Gotcha.
remember, much is given, much is required.
exactly right.
People need to, they can,
Yeah.
they can, they will, so I believe
So
that.
great. Well, thank you, Beth. We appreciate it. All right, Eric, you got anything else?
Nope, that concludes
All
my
right,
report.
council, what do we have for the good of council?
Would it be possible to redo the minutes from our committee meeting to show where Mr. Bumgardner did make the motion to adjourn that meeting?
I think he's just gonna have to let it go.
I did not
Start a new
instigate
streak.
that.
It, we'll take it under consideration.
I mean, you know, it's only been, how many, 12, 13 since Lewis is
You
gone?
need to let new people know that.
That's right,
That's right.
you're right.
People know that.
didn't know-
you know,
Now we know.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Years.
Shanice didn't know it.
I didn't. I've motioned to adjourn the meeting before, y'all.
Not the first
They
one,
just ignored
apparently.
And sometimes
I guess.
Grant is not here, so it's possible that someone else has made a motion, just not in Grant's.
He did it by proxy, though.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. He wasn't here. Motion to adjourn.
Oh, Shanice is taking over. All right, we got a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas. Thank you for our staff for sticking around. We appreciate it.
Never get voted in again after that.
Hey, be proud.
He is representing, go ahead and show me. Go ahead. Are we off of Facebook? Yeah.
Oh,
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 you're
oh,
late.
nope.
What?